The first Vinland Saga Deluxe Edition is finally here, but how does it compare to the old editions, and is it worth your hard-earned money? Let's take a look and find out. So after some delays, Kodansha's Vinland Saga Deluxe Edition Volume 1 is finally here. This was one of my most anticipated books of the year. It was one of my most anticipated books since it was first announced. This is an absolutely beautiful looking book. However, the question on everyone's mind is this worth the $55 price tag that it comes with? Now, we're gonna go ahead and take a deep dive into this book so you can see the comparison between this one and the old 2-in-1 editions that Kodansha has been putting out, so you can make up your mind whether you want to get those or stick to those, or if you want to upgrade to this or start with buying these in the first place. So let's switch on over to first person mode and take a deep dive into the Vinland Saga Deluxe Edition Volume 1. Alright folks, here it is in all of its glory, the first Vinland Saga Deluxe Edition coming from Kodansha. This thing is absolutely beautiful. I'm gonna do a zoom in here just so y'all can have a better look at some of the details on the cover. These are all embossed on here. So the title on here, the seal, the runes across the top, and there are meaning to these runes that I will talk about a little bit later in the video. And then of course the design across the bottom, book 1. Let's take a close look at the spine here. The runes continue across Vinland Saga, Makoto Yukimura, book 1, Kodansha's logo right there. And then on the back, the runes continue. There's nothing on the middle of the back. Kodansha's logo, this design continues. And this is a sticker with the rating, the price, the ISBN, and all of that stuff. Now, before busting the book open, we can also show the leaflet that it came with. This has all kinds of information about the book itself. We have a synopsis for the series, 650 pages of manga and premium collector's package, a little bit about what this includes, and then some quotes with praise for the series from Manga Bookshelf, ICV2, Faith Aaron Hicks, and Anime News Network, as well as the information there. Now, if you wanted to read any of this, you can go ahead and pause the video so you can read the description there, and pause the video so you can read everything that's included. But we're going to take a look at everything that's included. So let's zoom back out and we'll check the book out. So one thing that I do want to point out, I did take a close look at the engraving of the seal on here. This is a faux leather cover, but as you can see from zooming in here, it doesn't have a texture like that of the Berserk hardcovers, but it is soft to the touch, so it does feel like leather. It's just not the same type of leather as, say, the Berserk Deluxe Editions, where you can see it has this kind of scaly looking texture to it, but they are very, very similar. But I want to also compare this to, of course, the old editions of Vinland Saga. So let's take just a quick size comparison here, because we have this one is obviously much larger, and I have the most recent of the hardcovers, volume 13 here. So the trim size is of course a lot smaller on these, but also the amount of content within each of these is significantly different, because these are 2-in-1s while this one is a 3-in-1. So this, for instance, collects volumes, this is 13, so it has 25 and 26 of the original Japanese edition, whereas this has 1, 2, and 3 of the original Japanese edition. So volume 1 of the previous edition of this edition of Vinland Saga collects 1 and 2. This has 1, 2, and 3. I don't want any confusion there, because I've seen some people that think that this is a 3-in-1, as in it's collecting 3 of these hardcovers. That would be a 6-in-1. That would be significantly longer than it'd be like 1,200, 1,300 pages. So the price comparison here on the older hardcovers, these are, I think they started at $20, but right now they are, if I'm not mistaken, $22.99 each. Yes, so $22.99 is the US price, whereas the new deluxe editions are $54.99. So in comparison, $22.99 times 1.5 is about $33, $34, and these are $55. So these are significantly more expensive, the deluxe editions. They are very nice, but they are definitely significantly more expensive than these editions. And that's the main thing that I want to point out here. But there is a lot of reason for the price hike. And let's take a closer look at the book itself so y'all can see what's within. All right, so first up, just looking at the end papers here, we have a map on the end papers, and this is the same. I'll show it in a little bit, but this is the same at the back of the book as well. Fantastic looking end papers, as opposed to you know, Berserk. I think the end papers they're just gray. I just looked off screen, but they're just gray end papers. So this is a really nice detail to see added into the book here. Now moving forward, we do have some colored images in there, and then we have a table of contents, more colored artwork, additional colored artwork, and this is the last page of colored artwork. The paper quality is just immense. It is such good paper quality. It is very comparable to the quality of the paper that's used on the Berserk Deluxe editions or the other Dark Horse Deluxe editions, as opposed to if you were to look at the paper quality on I'm trying to open the 13th volume, but not to any spoilers for y'all. On these, it's on like much cheaper newsprint paper. So the quality of the paper here is significantly better than the quality of paper on here, and that's just one noticeable difference. Now I want us to flip to the back of the book because there's some really cool stuff in the back matter as well. So as I mentioned, the map at the end papers on the back as well. We have the seal here that appears on the front of the book, and then it's got back matter that I believe was from all of the individual volumes is included in here. But the coolest part, the one that I really want to focus on, is a page, not here, but just a little bit further, this one, about the cover. Now this is extremely cool, and when I was talking to the gentleman over at Penguin Random House who was designing these books, he told me that they would include this page about the cover. And now what this includes is all kinds of great information about the runes that are on the cover of the book itself. So here are those Old Norse runes, and then put into Latin script, and then transliterated so that you can read it with an English tongue, basically, and then an English translation. So the runes that are atop the front and back cover of this book, this is what it translates to. There was a man called Thorfinn, the son of Thors. His uncle was Leif the Lucky, who sailed to Vinland. He was a great duelist and warrior. So that's what it says on the back there. And this includes not just information about that, but then on the other side, we have information about the seal on the front of the book, Old Norse runes, Latin script, transliteration, and the English translation, Makoto Yukimura carved Vinland Saga. And I just think that this is the coolest little extra that you could add into a book like this. It's so much thought put behind this release that, you know, most people might just skip on over and not really think much about, but they give us this. And yeah, that's the round seal on the front of the book. That's what it says around that. Makoto Yukimura carved Vinland Saga. So that's what it says around this image. Let me get it centered for y'all. Around that image right there. Fantastic. So there's our look at this book up close. Let's zoom back out because I want to make a few comparisons in size. Now obviously we've looked at the 2-in-1 editions in comparison to this 3-in-1, but in addition to that, we want to look at the comparison of size to the Berserk Deluxe editions as well. So let's line these up and take a look at them together. So as you can see here, these two books are the same trim size, they're the same height, they're the same width. 14, of course, is much thinner than Vinland Saga because this has less pages than most of the Berserk ones. But the biggest difference between these, aside from the textured cover as opposed to the kind of flat cover here, is that this has a rounded spine as opposed to the flat spine on Vinland Saga. And that's something that I also want to show y'all, is the spine and how it looks when you actually open the book. So this has stitched binding, which means that it opens up that really nice eye hole there, and it helps you to lose any sort of potential gutter loss. If it was tight, like you know, the older ones are tighter than this, then you wind up having the art kind of stay, and in the middle you lose some stuff there. But here, the way that they've designed the book, and it has these white spaces in the gutters, it really pretty much eliminates the potential for gutter loss. So that's something else that I really wanted to show y'all, but let's compare to some other books. So here's Vinland Saga in comparison to Clover, which is another Kodansha hardcover. It does have that flat spine. This one does not have the leather finish on the cover. It's just a matte hardcover book. But you can see that it is the same dimension, the same height, the same width. This one's about the same length as well, so they're about the same amount of thickness here. But all of the Kodansha hardcovers, the deluxe hardcovers, like the Ghost in the Shell fully compiled edition, as well as a Sign of Affection, these are all going to be the same trim size as Vinland Saga, which is the same trim size as all of the deluxe hardcovers from Dark Horse as well. And then one more comparison just for fun. Here's a Marvel omnibus that recently came out for AXC Judgment Day. It is not the same size as that one. It's not the same height. There's a pretty significant difference there. But if we're comparing the width, it is about the same width. So that concludes our overview and detailed look at the first Vinland Saga Deluxe Edition hardcover. But before I give my closing statements and I'd say whether or not I think that it's worth upgrading or worth buying these volumes as opposed to the originals that were released by Kodansha, I want to give a little bit more information that we know from the upcoming volumes that have already been announced. So if you've been online, you might have seen the images for volumes 2, 3, and 4. We don't have images for 5 and beyond yet, as far as I've seen. But the first thing you might have noticed is that volume 2 is the same color, the same reddish brown as volume 1, but then volumes 3 and 4 turn into this dark gray charcoal type of color. But that's not the only difference. If you look a little bit closer, you may have missed this, but the runes atop volume 2 are completely different, not even in the same language as the runes across volume 1. And the stamp in the middle is different than the one on the first one. There's a different animal on that brand. So they've got these major differences like the color of the books, but then these small differences that you might miss if you're not paying attention. And then volumes 3 and 4, of course, not just the color change, but they also have differences in the runes and in the seal on the front of the cover as well. So there's a lot to observe about this stuff. And when we first started getting the images of the volumes beyond volume 1, I had reached out to the gentleman over at Penguin Random House who was doing the design work on this stuff, and I asked him about it, and he said, you know, there are a lot of differences between the volumes, and it's all intentional. And that's when he told me that there was going to be the page in the back of the volume that explains the runes and explains the seal and all of that stuff. But he's like, you know, everything that we do on these volumes, I've designed them in a way that everything is very intentional to kind of match certain aspects of the book itself and what's happening in the story. And I absolutely love that. I love the amount of depth that went into the thought process for these things. So all of that said, now we get to the conclusion of the video. Is it worthwhile to pick up the deluxe editions in comparison to the original editions? In my opinion, as someone who absolutely adores oversized books, I am the omnibus collector for a reason. I want to say yes. In my opinion, it is very much worthwhile to grab the deluxe editions. They are extremely meticulously designed. They're beautiful volumes. However, I can't ignore the fact that the price difference is rather huge. When comparing to the 2-in-1s that have a current price point of $22.99, buying 3-in-1s like this at $55 $54.99 to be exact, there is a pretty huge price discrepancy. And of course, like, you can get these at discounted prices at a lot of different places, but you can also get the 2-in-1s discounted as well. So we have to compare MSRP. And when comparing MSRP, there is like a $20 plus upcharge between the 2-in-1s and the 3-in-1s. But if you can afford to purchase these 3-in-1s, I would definitely recommend it. Would I recommend doing the 3-in-1s as someone who's never read the series before? Probably not. I always recommend, before buying deluxe editions or omnibus editions of anything, check the series out and make sure that you like it. Check the anime out. You can probably stream it. You might already have access to it from something that you have already subscribed to. Check the anime out. Make sure that you enjoy Vinland Saga first, and then if you want to get it in these really nice, very, very tempting deluxe editions, then go ahead with the knowledge that you know you already love the story. If you've never tried it before, maybe not. If you already have the 2-in-1 deluxe editions, is it worth upgrading? Is it worth picking these up instead? For me, absolutely. For you, you may have things that you prefer of the smaller ones. But at the end of the day, the most important part to me is the fact that Makoto Yukimura's artwork is now back at the size it was originally published in, and that's one of the best things about these deluxe edition volumes, whatever publisher it's from, is that we get the artwork unshrunk, because in those 2-in-1s and in single volumes that are released from any manga publisher here or in Japan, they shrink that artwork down significantly, and it's only in books this size that we have that back to the original size of the artwork as it was published in the magazine periodical format. So that's my 2 cents about this release and whether or not it's worth buying. I'm personally extremely happy about the release. I'm glad to have it in my collection. I cannot wait to have more of the series in this format. But let me know in the comments down below if this helped you to make a decision of whether you do or do not want to purchase this. Either way, I'm hoping that I could help inform your decision. With that, we're wrapping up this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you are new to my channel, I certainly hope that you will click that subscribe button so that you can see all the new videos that I put out on a typically weekly basis. If you're not new here, you know that I appreciate each and every one of you spending time with me whenever I put these videos out. Thank you so much once again, and I'll see you all on the next one. Peace out.